Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the preview for the 2023 British Grand Prix, the second of 4 races in July ahead of the annual summer break. Can you believe we are almost at that stage of the year already? Crazy. But anyway, of course, I am looking forward to this one as I do most races, and I hope we get a weekend that's just as enjoyable as I found Austria to be last time out, although hopefully with less of the whole track limits debacle. But lots to get through as always, so let's crack on with the preview, starting with a look at the circuit and all the usual stats that follow. So last weekend, F1 was at the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen took his 5th win in a row, and Red Bull made it 9 out of 9 for 2023 and 10 wins in a row in total. I think they might win these titles, you know. That's a little bit of sarcasm, by the way, but now it is on to the UK for round 10 of the season and the 58th World Championship event to be held at Silverstone, and that of course includes the 70th anniversary Grand Prix held in 2020. A lap of the Silverstone circuit is 5.891 kilometres long. That is just over 3.6 miles, if that's what floats your boat. Okay, and is made up of a total of 18 corners with a race lap record of a 1:27.097 set by Max Verstappen in 2020, and come Sunday we are set to see 52 racing laps. There will be 2 DRS zones to help drivers get some overtaking done this weekend. The first runs between turns 5 and 6, that's down the Wellington Straight if you prefer, and the second is down the Hangar Straight between turns 14 and 15. Both zones, with them being so far apart, do obviously have their own detection points. As for the best spots to try and get some moves done, we often see some good side-by-side action through the sequence of turns 3, 4 and 5 before the DRS on the run to turn 6, which can also offer up opportunities into Luffield at turn 7. Stowe at turn 15 could be another good spot, and as we saw in 2022, we might see some action in the final few corners as well. Over the years, as already touched on, Silverstone has hosted 57 F1 World Championship events, including the first ever one, with 32 different drivers taking victory in that time. Lewis Hamilton holding the record for the most wins at the circuit with 8. But last season, it was Carlos Sainz who took his first ever F1 win, leading home Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton, who made up the podium. And if Max Verstappen finishes on the podium this weekend, he will join Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel to become only the 5th driver to finish on the podium in 11 consecutive races. So 11 in a row, 5th driver to do so. 11 minus 5 equals 6. And 6, as I'm sure you know very well by now, was Nico Rosberg and Nicholas Latifi's race number. But it is also the number of dry tyre compounds available in the Pirelli range. Yes, once again, it is tyre talk time. The compounds available for this one then are the hard C1, the medium C2 and the soft C3. It is important to note that this weekend will be the first time the new slick tyre construction has been run in anger, and explaining the changes, Pirelli says the new construction is made up of materials brought forward from next year, and that was necessary due to the increased performance of the cars seen since the start of this season in terms of outright speed and loads. The new spec will give the tyres extra resistance against fatigue, but it is not expected to affect any technical parameters or its behaviour on the circuit. They do go on to add that all teams had the opportunity to run the new spec at the Spanish Grand Prix, and the feedback they got from the teams was in line with Pirelli's expectations, including when it came to, quote, transparency in terms of performance. It may well be that this makes no difference whatsoever on track, but it has been reported, or more accurately rumoured, that the new front tyres may have a slightly sturdier structure, which could help those who have been front limited in 2023. Thinking of Ferrari as just one example. Last year's winning strategy was officially a 3-stopper, but that includes a tyre change under the early red flag for Zhou's crash. But following the restart, Carlos Sainz pitted twice, going from mediums to hard and then onto the soft tyres, all 3 compounds. And the safety car for Esteban Ocon's stricken Alpine allowed the teams a cheap pit stop on and around lap 39. The fastest pit stop in 2022 was 2.43 seconds by Alpine, and the overall pit lane loss time was largely between 28 and 30 seconds. And when it comes to safety cars at Silverstone, from the last 10 races at the circuit, all 10 have featured at least one full and or virtual safety car period. So based on that stat, I think it's fair to say there's a fairly decent chance we'll see one on Sunday, which could help to mix strategies up a little bit as well. The weather could also play its part. It's the UK after all, and at time of recording, which as usual is Wednesday evening, and as seems to be the case almost every weekend at the moment, it certainly feels like that anyway, we are set to see a mixed bag. Friday is expected to stay dry with highs of 26 degrees. However, that all looks set to change on Saturday with a 75% chance we'll see some rain during the third practice session and around a 50% chance of a shower during qualifying. Although, got to be said, that risk does fall away quite rapidly throughout the afternoon, so it could just as equally stay dry. Highs for qualifying, by the way, are currently expected to be around 24 degrees. As for Sunday, the forecast says we should see highs of around 21 degrees in time for the start of the race, with around about a 45% risk of some rain falling. As always, though, that is how it stands as I sit here and record this, but that could and probably will all change before the weekend. And your schedule for this one is back to the normal weekend format, so no sprinters. I'm sure some of you will be very happy to hear. So FP1 gets the race weekend started on Friday from 12:30 p.m. and second practice starts later that afternoon at 4 p.m. The F1 action gets going on Saturday with FP3 at 11:30 a.m. with qualifying underway from 3 p.m. and it is lights out for the race on Sunday also from 3 p.m. and once again that is in UK time. Now, before I make my usual predictions, let's have a look at some news stories and things to note ahead of the weekend. To start, the 2024 F1 calendar has been announced and there's some very interesting dates to pick out. The season is scheduled to be made up of 24 rounds and is set to start in Bahrain with the race being held on Saturday, March the 2nd. And the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix will take place a week later with the race again being on a Saturday on the 9th of March. The reason for the change to the schedule for the opening 2 rounds is to accommodate Ramadan, which is due to start on the Sunday of the Jeddah weekend, which would have been, of course, race day, and the opening round at Sakhir has been moved forward by a day to ensure there is a usual gap between races. It is then on to Australia for the 3rd round of the year, which falls on my birthday next season, so thank you very much for that, F1. Before Japan, which moves all the way up to be the 4th round of the season. A huge change there. Other key points and dates to note include the return of China and Imola to the calendar. The Spanish Grand Prix moves to an end of June slot and is the start of a triple header with Austria and Britain. Despite rumours saying otherwise, Spa remains on the schedule and will run again before the summer break. The race in Baku will be held much later in the year on the 15th of September. And the season ends with a triple header of races starting in Vegas and ending in Abu Dhabi on December 8th, Qatar sitting in between the two of them. Now, there is the usual break for the summer, but interestingly, there's also a month between the races in Singapore and Austin. I've not been able to find at the time of recording an official reason why the gap is there, though. So if you do know why, then please do let me know in the comments down below. And if I find anything out in the meantime, I'll pin something down there as well. Maybe it's a logistical thing. I'm sure we'll find out soon. Moving on, though, and a number of teams will be bringing updates to Silverstone. No great surprises there. McLaren will bring the next 25% of their big update, which could be another huge boost given the step forward they seem to take in Austria. Alfa Romeo will also have some new updates described by Alessandro Alunni-Bravi as an important package that will hopefully help the team to, quote, make our way back to the top 10. The package is, according to Valtteri Bottas, by the way, expected to improve the high-speed performance of the car without any losses to its balance. The other AlphaTauri, are expected to introduce a new floor this weekend, and Williams is adding to its package as well at Silverstone. That isn't an exhaustive list, though, so as ever, keep an eye out for the news following the team's show and tell this weekend. It's not just the cars that will have changes for this one, though, as circuit bosses have had the gravel removed on the exit of Turn 1 and replaced with asphalt. Managing Director Stuart Pringle explaining the changes were made following Zhou Guanyu's crash last year, with the goal of stopping the cars from digging in. And finally, for the news, 3 teams will be running special liveries at the British Grand Prix. McLaren unveiled a chrome look inspired by some of the classic liveries we've seen the team run in the past. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it could have been done so much better, and I'd have loved to have seen the Vodafone McLaren livery with the red change to papaya. There are reasons why that couldn't be done, though, and Zach Brown explained that they want to keep the papaya identity much like Ferrari do with their red, but also there are only so many times teams can make extreme changes to the liveries over the course of the season as per the rules. Williams will also run a special livery this weekend and for Hungary to celebrate the team's 800th Grand Prix milestone. The design pays tribute to the team's British heritage and to the late Sir Frank Williams and features the country's flag across the engine cover, the date the team was established, as well as the 800 Grand Prix mark on the side pods and some other spots. And Aston Martin have tweaked their livery as well for Silverstone to celebrate the announcement of the team's official new lubricant partner, Valvoline. Not much to say on this one. It is basically the usual livery with flashes of blue and red and also features the brand's logo. Right then, time for me to make some predictions, and as always, please do not take these too seriously. They're just a little bit of fun, but if you do disagree with my picks, then you can let me know yours in the comment section down below. And you know what? Last weekend, it was a bit of a mixed bag. Yes, I was right on Verstappen for basically everything, but I was not expecting Ferrari to be as strong as they were, and Checo managed to make it back to the podium as well, so no points there, but not bad overall. This week, I'll just be doing some realistic predictions, but the bold ones will return for a future race. Now look, obviously Red Bull are the favourites, and of course that means they're going to dominate my predictions just like they're dominating the championships. And this is another track that should, thanks to its high-speed nature and fast corners, really play to the team's strengths. And without huge chaos and drama, I struggle to see how anyone stops them making it 10 out of 10 for 2023. Yeah, the tyres could be a factor, although again, Pirelli don't expect much to change in terms of performance, but it could help teams close the gap if the new construction helps them to manage their compounds better in a race. I am going to make a sort of bold call for Saturday though. This is a track where Ferrari do go well, and they were close to snatching pole position in Austria, so I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc for a bit of a surprise pole, but I fully expect Max Verstappen to come out on top in race trim, with Sergio Perez making it a Red Bull 1-2, and I will go with one of the Ferraris taking P3. It could be either of them. Sainz has gone well here in the past, and also he's doing much better this season. I think he's getting credit for, but I'll go with Leclerc, seeing as I did pick him for P1 on Saturday. Aston Martin and Mercedes will obviously both be threats, so don't totally rule Fernando Alonso, for example, out of a top 3 finish on Sunday. Same goes for Lewis Hamilton as well, by the way, given his form around Silverstone, although Mercedes were off the pace last weekend, so it will be interesting to see if that was a one-off or not. At this stage of the video, I'd usually go with Alpine for top of the midfield. However, given the updates still to come and the step forward they appeared to take in Austria, I'm actually going to go with McLaren this time around, and hopefully this is the resurrection of the Alpine-McLaren battle we saw for big chunks of last season. And by the way, I've said it a couple of times now, when I say step forward they appeared to take, it's because I'm not sure how much of that was the upgrades and how much was just the fact that Lando Norris tends to go very well at the Red Bull Ring. Just something worth bearing in mind. It's quite possibly a mixture of both though. Elsewhere, and for some bolder random picks, I fancy Alex Albon to make Q3 on Saturday. I'll go with Pierre Gasly to outqualify and outrace teammate Esteban Ocon. And do you know what? Yeah, let's say we get a little bit of chaos on Sunday, maybe a surprise rain shower that mixes things up and allows Logan Sargent to get his first F1 point. I would love to see that on Sunday. That is it for the British Grand Prix preview then, but don't forget to let me know your thoughts and your predictions ahead of the weekend down in the comment section. Now, I will be back with some more content across the weekend, including the usual race reaction stream on Sunday. So keep an eye on the channel, and if you don't want to miss any videos or streams, then please do consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell. And if you did enjoy this video, then please do leave a like before you go, as it really does help to give the channel a big boost. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.